You can access the entire episode now on our website, forbiddenknowledge.news, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. I'd like to get into the timeline of our history as much as possible. I know this is an extremely difficult topic to breach just because we have no idea what happened 100 years ago, much less hundreds of thousands of years ago. But according to many researchers, we've been reset multiple times. And I'm wondering where, based on your research, Atlantis falls into this. Was the Sumerian mythos before or after this? And how many cyclical resets have occurred where humanity has risen and fallen, predicated based on the creation by these beings?
All great questions. When you look at this Anunnaki timeline, we're talking about all this beginning on Earth around 450,000 years ago, which is a pretty decent estimate. Now, why did they even come here in the first place? Before I answer those questions, there was a galactic war occurring in their part of the sky, in their sector, which was the Pleiadian star system, which we can only see 6 bright stars on a clear dark night, but there are over 800 stars in that region of the sky. And those stars have planets orbiting them, and those planets, some of those planets and some of those habitable moons have life, or at least had life. There was a big battle there that was started where planets were even being destroyed. Debris was all over the area, that sector, crashing into habitable planets, crashing into moons. And what happened was these people began to flee. The ones who could, they fled. They became space refugees, fleeing to other star systems like Orion, Aldebaran, Ursa Minor, Sirius A, B, and C. Some Sol, S-O-L, they came to Earth. They came to this star to inhabit Earth, and maybe even potentially Mars and other planets in our solar system. And these were all space refugees. So they got here at a time that we were in a fallen state, because we know that from the verbal handed down histories and star lore of indigenous tribes around the world, including the Aboriginals, that there was an ancient tribe here in a city called, or on an island city called Lemuria, that existed supposedly at a very high level of advanced civilization. They had high level technology and high level spirituality combined, and that these beings had almost full use of all their mind power, as well as psychic abilities, telekinesis, and so many other incredible gifts. And at some point, there was a demise or a collapse and a fall. Next civilization that seemed, this is before the Anunnaki got here. Next civilization that seems to have risen was the Aboriginals, who were put into on that continent of Australia. They claimed down, their verbal handed down history claims that they were seated down here and one of the first hominid species that were simply brought and seated on the planet. And they had reached a high level of civilization at one point, spiritually, not technologically. And then you fast forward, it seems as if there were other indigenous tribes that engaged with star people many, many thousands of years ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago, as all indigenous cultures seem to have the same story. And it seems as if there was some type of a collaborative effort between bringing people here and seating them. The Hopi tribe, the Lakota tribe, the Blackfoot tribe, they all have this same star lore, even the Mayans, which is pretty incredible. So we see this interaction where we find out that there are people that were being brought here, almost like this is a seed colony for some reason. Now, at some point prior to the Anunnaki, we had a rise in civilization and then a collapse. And then in Anunnaki, it seems that they arrived here at a time when we were in one of our most fallen states, back into what they call a Bronze Age on the Yuga cycle. And so we were in a state where, we basically were just hunter-gatherers all over again, starting from zero. There was some type of a reset. It's not clear what reset it was. But we see these resets over time. When you analyze the Mayans, what they said was that Earth had gone through 4 cycles or 4 worlds, and we're headed into the 5th world. And these 4 worlds are these cataclysmic events that are happening by accident, or either by accident or on purpose, we don't clearly know, that are resetting mankind. We do know of one that appears to be done on purpose. And that one is when Enlil decreed that he wanted to wipe the earth clean and start over with the creation. And in some way, they guided an asteroid towards the planet to destroy everything on Earth as they went to their sky ships and forebode to watch the destruction from space. And they lamented over this. But Enki gave some secret messages to Ziusudra, who is known as Noah in the modern day Bible, on how to construct a craft. It wasn't a giant boat like they talk about in the Bible. We found the tablet. It was a circular disc-shaped craft, and he was only told to get his local flora, fauna, and local livestock and bring it on there with him, and to survive this flood, which also pissed off his brother Enlil. But there has been this cycle of rise and fall, this Yuga cycle of rise and fall of civilization, and it seems it's happened at least 4 times according to ancient star lore, and that we may be right now in the Tetra Yuga, which is on the left side of the circle, heading back towards the Golden Age, with the very beginning of a Silver Age, which is now maybe, I don't know, 8 or 10,000 years away from a next Golden Age. But we're heading into the Age of Aquarius, so it would make sense that we're in the beginning of a Silver Age now.
Every time these beings are depicted, they seem to be larger than humans. Some are depicted with wings. Based on your understanding, were these giants, did they have any different physiology than humans, or were they indecipherable from regular humans?
Yeah, great question. It appears that the older, they call them the savants, the heroes of old, the original, what they call the Sumerian pantheon, long before the Greek pantheon. They were big, mighty men. They were huge. I mean, massive people. Now, over time, as they began to mate and also succumb to Earth's gravity, that started the evolutionary process of folding under the Earth's pressure and creating a hominid that was more, still large, but more what we call adaptable to Earth's gravity. So, for example, if you and I get in a spaceship right now and we fly to Mars, okay, Mars has significantly, probably almost 2/3 less gravity than Earth. We would be superheroes on Mars right now today. We could pick up giant boulders the size of cars and throw them. I can dunk on a 20-foot basketball hoop, jump over small buildings and all of that. Why? Because we were born under Earth's gravity net. Now, all of a sudden, let's say we stay there, right? So as we stay there and we mate with, let's say we find somebody to mate with. Now that we have offspring, that offspring gestation period is going to be under Mars gravity. But a lot of the genetics are still going to come first generation from Earth's gravity, which is our strength of our bones and everything else, being a much larger planet. So the first generation still going to be big, but not quite as strong and not quite as big. By the generation after that, all of a sudden now we see a child that's probably pretty much succumbed to Mars gravity, probably very slim, slender, body type, skull looks different. Adjusted to Mars gravity, can't dunk on a 20-foot goal, can't throw a small car. So this evolutionary process we know that happens just by basic science. The same thing would have happened here, which means over time and over generations, these beings would have gotten smaller and smaller, and eventually, potentially even today, some could be still walking around indistinguishable. When we have people in the NBA that are 7'1", 7'2", 7'6", playing, could they have genetics from some of these beings? It's quite possible.
Well,
so
that really brings me to the next question. At some point, we seem to lose connection with these stories and these understandings. I wonder if these beings were interbred into some of the most powerful bloodlines on the planet and may still be the ruling class that we know of today.
You hit it right on the head. Listen, these people are still here genetically. If you look at the Sumerian kings list, which I went to visit in person myself in the Ashmolean Museum at Oxford, England, you see that there were kings on that list that ruled for 14,800 years, for 28,800 years.